Hey master, hold up. Have you ever thought, really thought, that Elon Musk might be watching you? Yeah, not online stalking. Nah, something way crazier. Simulations. Mind-blowing simulations, where he literally modeled every choice you could make, every move, every tiny decision, and oh, the results? They terrified him. Yeah, I know. Sounds insane, right? But here's the twist. This isn't just about him, it's about you. Every fear, every potential, every spark of chaos inside you. He tried to predict it, and he couldn't. Nah, not even close, because you're unpredictable, brilliant, unstoppable in ways that shake even the smartest minds. Oh, and that's exactly why you need to see this video every second, every word, because what happened inside those simulations, what he saw, will change the way you see yourself forever. Wait, do you feel that? That shiver down your spine? Yeah, that's your potential calling. Welcome to our channel, Darkness Throne. And hey, before we dive in, shout out to you watching this. Yeah, you sitting there ready to face the truth, ready to rise, ready to see what even Elon Musk feared. Drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me how you'd react if you knew someone was secretly running simulations of you. So strap in, hold tight, because what comes next is dark, intense, and ridiculously motivational. By the end, you're not just gonna watch, you're gonna feel it burn inside you, and maybe, just maybe, you'll see why no one can predict the power that you hold. The truth doesn't knock. It kicks down the door and laughs as you stumble. Elon Musk. Genius, visionary, or just a man who couldn't sleep at night because curiosity clawed at him like a wild animal. Oh, he didn't just wonder what the future would look like. He built it. He simulated it. And not just the machines, not just the rockets, not just the electric cars. Nah, he simulated you. Yes, you. Sitting there thinking life is ordinary, predictable, safe. But the moment he pressed run, every possible version of you spilled into his screens like a storm breaking free of a cage. And here's the brutal truth. The results terrified him. Every choice you could make, every path you could take, every little spark of thought, he saw it all. He saw the chaos, the brilliance, the cunning, the moments where you would rise, and moments where you could crumble. But the fear wasn't of you failing. No, it was of you waking up, of you realizing that the boundaries everyone else accepts, they don't exist for you. He expected patterns, expected logic, expected the human mind to behave like a clock. Oh yeah. He thought he could predict you with math, with algorithms, with probabilities. But there you were, twisting, turning, laughing at his numbers. The simulations screamed. Machines cannot contain a soul that refuses to obey the rules. And in that moment, the titan of tech felt it, a cold, creeping, undeniable fear. Not of what you would do to him, but what you would do to the world if you chose to move without permission. And you know what's beautiful? He couldn't stop watching. Terrified, yes, but hypnotized. Oh wow. Every scenario he ran, every model, every line of code, it only confirmed one thing. You were not a project, not a problem. You were the variable he never calculated. You were the storm hiding behind the calm, the force that could shatter expectations. And still, he kept clicking. Still, he kept asking, What if? Yeah, the obsession of a mind that knows it has limits but sees you breaking them over and over again. But here's the knife twist. Nah, he didn't run the simulation to defeat you. No. He ran it to understand himself, to measure courage, to glimpse the audacity of a mind unafraid to act, unafraid to rise. The terror in his eyes wasn't about danger. It was the reflection of a question that stabs harder than any enemy. What would happen if I had that kind of fearlessness, that kind of clarity, that kind of resolve? And it's here, right at this moment, that you feel it too. The shiver down your spine, the pull that whispers, you are more than anyone suspects. You are chaos and clarity, strategy and instinct, all at once. And the most intoxicating truth, the most terrifying, is that no machine, no simulation, no mind, no matter how brilliant, can ever fully capture you. So, what did he see that night when the simulations ran? When the numbers refused to lie? When the future flickered on his screen? He saw everything, and it broke him. Fear is a mirror, and some mirrors refuse to reflect what's inside. That warning, that shiver down his spine. Yeah, it wasn't just numbers on a screen, it was a mirror. Oh, it showed him himself, his limitations, his doubts, the corners of his mind he'd never dared to enter. And then it showed you, not just a person, but an idea, a force that bends rules without breaking them, a storm that doesn't apologize. He tried to control it, tried to shape it, tried to run the simulations again, and again. Every time, it slipped. Every time, you emerged sharper, smarter, calmer, faster. And suddenly all his power, all his knowledge, all his money, it felt fragile, vulnerable, like a candle in the wind. Oh, nah, not fragile in the way we think, fragile in the way reality reminds you that you are not the center of it, that the world doesn't bend just because you demand it. And yet, he couldn't stop. Obsession mixed with fear and fascination, creating a cocktail that burns the mind. Every outcome, every scenario, every calculation screamed the same truth. You cannot be predicted. You cannot be boxed in. You cannot be tamed. And he realized something most never face. The thing that terrifies you is not outside of you, it's inside. The fear of what you could become. Oh, that's when it hit him. That realization that gnaws at the edges of sanity. What if you do more than survive? What if you thrive in ways no one else can imagine? What if the boundaries he built, the safety nets, the rules, the formulas, crumble when you refuse them? Yeah, wow. It's intoxicating, but it's also terrifying. And here's the punch. Nah, he didn't see the worst. He saw the beginning. He saw the spark that could ignite the fire, but not the fire itself. And in that spark, he glimpsed a reflection of every choice ignored, every rule bent, every limit broken. The simulations didn't lie. They whispered. And whispers are dangerous because they make you listen when you least expect it. He knew, deep down, that what he feared most wasn't failure, not defeat. It was the awakening of potential, so precise, so raw, so honest that the world could never contain it. And that is where the real terror lies. Because when potential is awakened, it doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait. It moves. It acts. Some truths don't whisper. They roar, and the world flinches. What happens when someone sees their own limits collapse before someone else's courage? Oh wow, it's a sight that burns the eyes. He watched the simulations again, his fingers hovering over keys like a man standing at the edge of a cliff. Yeah, he thought he knew power, thought he knew control, though he understood human nature. But watching you unfold, calculating, improvising, defying, it was like watching a hurricane form inside a teacup. Nah, not just a storm, a revelation. A force that makes the familiar world feel fragile, small, temporary. And you know what's cruel about power like that? It doesn't announce itself. It creeps. It unfolds quietly. Until one day, it's obvious. And when he saw it, in numbers, in lines of code, in endless branching paths, the truth hit him. You were not just a variable. You were a possibility. A possibility that none of his machines could contain. His mind raced, heart pounding. Oh, the things you could do, the ways you could bend the rules, the subtle, quiet acts that change everything without anyone noticing. It was genius. Dangerous genius, and terrifying. He tried to reason. He tried to predict. He tried to create limits within the simulation. But every limit you approached, you danced around. Every restriction, you turned into an advantage. Every flaw in the system became your tool. Yeah, and there it was, the unmistakable truth staring back at him. Potential doesn't negotiate. It doesn't plead. It doesn't wait. It moves, and the world must follow. Nah, that's when the realization sank in. He didn't fear losing control. No. He feared irrelevance. He feared the quiet, undeniable evidence that someone else, someone like you, could do more than he imagined. Oh, and not just more, better, smarter, clearer, without arrogance, without cruelty, without needing the world to kneel. And in that fear, he found fascination. Because the mind that sees this, the mind that witnesses the birth of another's potential, it cannot help but watch, cannot help but wonder, cannot help but feel the pull of the impossible. And it's strange. Yeah, the same simulations that terrified him also inspired him. The terror and the hope intertwined like fire and smoke, creating a vision he could not escape. He understood, suddenly, that the real experiment wasn't the simulation itself. It was the reflection, the mirror, that shows you what courage looks like when it refuses to be hidden. And in that reflection, a question arises. A question that burns brighter than any screen. Oh wow. What happens when the observer becomes the observed? What happens when the limits you thought were fixed suddenly shift, bend, and break? And he knew the answer, deep down. He knew that the world as he calculated it would never be the same. Change doesn't ask permission. It drags the world forward, screaming. And when the world changes, will it recognize who moved it, or will it deny it forever? Oh, wow. That is the terrifying truth. The world is stubborn, slow, blind to the quiet forces that shape it. And yet there you are, not waiting, not pleading, not begging for attention, just moving. Breathing life into the paths that no one else dares to tread. And Elon, he watched it all, heart racing, mind reeling, fingers frozen over the keys. Nah, he couldn't touch it, couldn't influence it, couldn't stop it. Yeah, every scenario, every simulation, every possible what if crumbled the moment you acted. And here's the part that makes the mind ache. The most powerful force is not the machine, not the calculation, not even money or fame. It's clarity. It's vision. It's the refusal to bend for the comfort of others. The simulation showed him that potential, when disciplined, is far more dangerous than raw power. And oh wow, he knew it. Every model screamed it. Every line of code begged for mercy. But there was none. None. And there's something intoxicating about watching inevitability unfold. Something that mixes fear and awe so completely that it twists your thoughts into knots. Oh yeah, you move and the world reacts like it always has. Slowly, awkwardly, reluctantly. But the current you create cannot be ignored. And he saw it. He felt it. The weight of someone so focused, so deliberate, that even the impossible bends toward them. The simulation was supposed to be a tool, but instead it became a mirror, a reflection of what discipline, courage, and integrity look like when combined with unshaken determination. And it's brutal. Nah, not brutal like pain, brutal like truth. Truth that slices through excuses, doubts, distractions. The simulation whispered a reality too sharp to ignore. Mediocrity is not your path. Compliance is not your destiny. The ordinary world cannot contain someone who is awake, aware, and willing to act when action is required. And yes, he feared it. Feared the clarity. Feared the momentum. Feared the quiet certainty that you would rise while the rest stumble. Oh wow. The question lingers. If someone can move the world without force, without shouting, without bending to pressure, then what else can they achieve? What other boundaries can they erase with patience, discipline, and resolve? That is the edge of the simulation. That is the moment where fear and inspiration collide. That is the place Elon never wanted to reach. Yet he did. Fire doesn't ask permission to burn, and neither should you. The world doesn't notice the spark until it's already a fire. Oh, that's the terrifying beauty of it. That's the point Elon realized too late. You moved quietly, deliberately, without seeking applause. And in the stillness, in the silence between every decision, the fire grew. Yeah, it grew in ways that no algorithm, no model, no simulation could ever contain. It grew because you were awake, because you were aware, because you refused the lies of limitation and fear. And here's the truth that twists the stomach. Power isn't in the loudest voice. Power isn't in control, in prediction, in domination. Nah, power is in clarity, in patience, in knowing what to do when everyone else is distracted by their own doubts. Oh wow. And when he saw it on his screens, when every simulation screamed the same answer, it hit him. The fire is not something to fear. The fire is something to respect, something to follow, something to measure yourself against. And there's a cruelty in that respect. Yeah, because admiration mixes with envy. Because when someone acts with such precision, such focus, it forces the observer to look inside, to confront every weakness, every hesitation, every moment they failed to act. And Elon, he faced that mirror, and he couldn't look away. Nah, you can't turn your eyes from a mirror that shows courage in motion. It demands acknowledgement. It demands change. And here's the edge. the razor-sharp truth. The simulations were never about you. They were about him, about what he could see, about what he couldn't control, about what he feared and secretly longed to become. And you were the reminder, the proof, the fire. And when someone becomes a reminder, well, the world notices. Slowly, reluctantly. But I noticed. And once it does, there's no going back. Yeah, it's intoxicating. The thought that one life, one mind, one disciplined, relentless person can tilt the scales of what is considered possible. It terrifies me because it's real. Oh wow. It motivates me because it's achievable. And the fire burns brightest in the ones who refuse excuses, who acts, who stands, who rises even when no one is watching. And that is the lesson Elon learned from the simulations he could not control. That is the truth he glimpsed but could not fully hold. And it's the truth you carry now, whether you realize it or not. The spark, once seen, cannot be hidden. The fire, once ignited, cannot be stopped. And when it moves, the world bends. Not by force, not by threat, but by sheer presence, clarity, and courage. So, here we are, at the edge. Yeah, the edge of what he saw, what he feared. Oh, wow. And now you know the truth. The fire inside you, the chaos, the brilliance, the part of you that even Elon Musk couldn't predict. Nah, don't let this fade away. Don't just scroll past. That spark is yours, waiting, ready to rise, ready to move the world in ways no one could calculate, no one could contain, no one could ever see coming. Yeah, so here's the deal. Leave a comment right now. Tell me what part of you he couldn't simulate. Tell me what he wouldn't dare predict. I want to hear it. I want the world to hear it. Because this isn't just a video, it's a movement, a reflection, a tribute to you, the ones who refuse to be ordinary. Oh, before we go, let me say this. Thank you. Yeah, you for sitting here watching, feeling, thinking, daring to face the truth that even the smartest minds tremble before. Your energy, your potential, your courage, it's real. And the world better notice, because you are the simulation they can't run, the fire they can't forecast, the storm they never saw coming. So go, rise, act, break the rules of the ordinary, and remember this spark, this fire. It's yours, and no one, not even Elon Musk, can ever take it away. Hello, champ. Yeah, you listen up for a second. You think I'm here to play nice? Nah, not today. Not when the truth is burning through the walls. Not when your name is being whispered in rooms you've never stepped into. Not when powerful people are shifting in their seats, wondering how you slipped through their fingers, wondering why you're still standing when they swore you'd fall. Oh, they don't like it, not one bit. They thought you'd fold, they thought you'd crawl back, they thought the weight would crush you flat. But here you are, breathing fire in silence, smiling without reason, walking like you own the ground. And here's the part they'll never tell you. You make them nervous. Every move you make feels like thunder under their feet. Every step you take without asking permission feels like a door slamming in their face. And all that eats them alive. Because they can't figure you out. They can't predict you. They can't put you back in the box you burned down. And That drives them mad. Nobody will tell you this, but you're making powerful people nervous. And they won't admit it. Because admitting it means they've already lost something they can't get back. Their control, their grip, their illusion that you are beneath them. Oh, they've watched you. They've seen the cracks you've walked through. The storms you've endured without begging for shelter. They've seen you bleed in silence and still stand with a gaze that doesn't flinch. They thought the weight would crush you, but you learned to carry it as if it were part of you. Yes, you became the storm they feared. You stopped waiting for someone to save you and started becoming the one who could. You carved patience into your bones, discipline into your breath, resilience into your every step. You learned that when the world turns cold, you burn from within. The walls close in. You don't beg for the door. You break it. You are dangerous to them, not because of what you have, but because of what you no longer need from them. Their approval, their applause, their permission to exist. You've stepped beyond that. You've seen the truth they try to hide. That power is fragile. That control is a lie. That fear only works on those who believe it. You don't believe it anymore, do you? You've tasted the freedom that comes with silence, with not explaining yourself, with walking away from the table when the feast isn't worthy of your hunger. You've learned to sharpen your will, not to harm but to endure, because you know the game they play. The whispers, the doubt, the subtle ways they try to make you smaller. But you've grown in the shadows, taller than they expected, harder than they imagined. You've turned your pain into armor, your scars into maps, your loneliness into a weapon they can't understand. They can't touch you. Not because you're untouchable, but because you've stopped reaching for them. You've stopped giving them the strings they used to pull. Now they panic. They feel it. That shift. That quiet confidence, that unshakable center you've built in secret. They will test you. Oh yes, they will try to bait you back into their cage with fake kindness, with empty offers, with a stage they want you to perform on. But you've learned, you've seen the trap beneath the velvet, and you will not step inside again. You know that the Creator gave you strength for a reason. That the struggle was the fire that shaped you, and you carry that truth like a blade in your heart. You don't swing it wildly, no. You simply let them see the glint of it, so they remember. You are not who you were. You are not a pawn. You are the player now. You have learned the art of patience in a world that worships speed. The art of silence in a world that fears it. The art of standing alone in a world terrified of solitude. And that makes you dangerous because the one who stands alone cannot be moved by the crowd, cannot be swayed by their noise, cannot be bribed with what they value. You've built a life they can't infiltrate, a mind they can't predict, a heart they can't poison, and a spirit they cannot break. And so they watch you in boardrooms, in back rooms, in the corner shadows. Listen, wondering how you slipped through their fingers, wondering when they lost their hold, wondering why their words bounce off you like rain on stone. It's because you've gone deeper than they've ever dared into the cold, into the dark, into the silence. And you did just survive. You claimed it. You made peace with your own company. You learn to walk with your head high even when no one clapped. You learn to turn hunger into fuel and doubt into direction. You've stripped away the illusions they wear like crowns. You've seen that power without principle is hollow, and that titles mean nothing to the one who kneels to none but truth. You've realized the chains they use are made of paper, that fear is their currency and you've gone bankrupt to it. They can't collect from you anymore, and so you rise, noise, but with a quiet they cannot kill, a certainty they cannot steal, a fire they cannot see until it's too late. You are not loud. You are lethal in your calm, not because you seek to harm, but because your existence itself defies their control. And that makes you the most dangerous thing in the room. You are proof, living proof, that they cannot own everyone, that some will walk through the fire and not just live but become the flame. They will not tell you this, they will not say your name, because to name you is to admit defeat. But you'll feel it, in the way they shift when you enter, in the way their eyes flicker with something they won't call fear, in the way their smiles tighten when you speak. And you will know you've already won, not because they fell, but because you rose. You've made peace with storms they tried to bury you in. You've grown roots in the soil they thought would choke you, and you've built a strength they cannot touch. So walk with that fire in your chest, that unshakable calm in your step, and let them wonder, let them fear, let them realize the silence you carry is not emptiness, it is power. And nobody will tell you this, but you are making powerful people nervous. And that is exactly where you are meant to. Nobody will tell you this, but every step you take in truth makes the walls of false power tremble. Every breath you draw without asking permission shakes their illusion. Every time you rise without their hand, you remind them that they are not your source. They do not own your will. They do not own your mind. They do not own your path. And that terrifies them, because control only works when you believe you need it. But you've learned to walk without their map. You've chosen roads unmarked and survived storms they swore would end you. They thought isolation would break you, but it became your forge. They thought rejection would kill your fire, but it fed it until it roared. They don't understand this kind of strength, because they've never been forced to find it. They were handed their power. You carved yours with bleeding hands, were praised before they had earned it. You were tested before you could breathe. And still you are here. Still you stand. Still your eyes burn with the knowledge of what you've endured. That is what makes them uneasy. The quiet in you, the patience in your steps, the way you move like someone who knows the ground could break, but walks anyway. They thrive on fear, you've learned to befriend it. They thrive on chaos. You've learned to stand still in the storm. They thrive on noise. You've learned the language of silence. And in that silence, heard your own name in a way they never will. You've heard the truth whisper in the hours before dawn, telling you that no one is coming to save you, and that you are enough to save yourself. That is why they watch you now, from a distance, wondering how you can endure with ending. Wondering why their traps catch only shadows of you. Wondering why the things that used to break you no longer even touch you. It's because you have built your armor on the inside. No gold, no steel, just the unshakable will of someone who has been to the bottom, back without asking for applause. You have faced the mirror in your darkest hour, and you did not look away. You have faced your own doubts when no one else could hear them, and you answered with action, not excuses. That's what they cannot match. They can outspend you, outnumber you, but they cannot outlast you, because you have learned the oldest truth, that the one who does not quit wins. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in the end, always, you have chosen discipline over distraction, endurance over escape, and principle over comfort. And that is a language the powerful cannot speak, because they fear discomfort more than they fear defeat. You have walked with discomfort until it became a friend. You've learned to sit with hunger, to work through exhaustion, to speak with restraint, to act with precision, and to trust the process when the outcome was invisible. They don't understand this, because their strength is borrowed, and yours is earned. They stand tall only when the world is watching. But you stand tall when no one sees, when the night is long, when the road is empty, when the wait feels endless, and that is when you become unstoppable. And now they feel it. They sense that you have nothing left. They can take, no string left. They can pull, no wound they can open that you haven't already healed. And in their eyes, dangerous, not because you attack, but because you cannot be subdued. You have stripped away every illusion they offered, fame, approval, validation, and found that your worth was never theirs to give. You have stopped asking why me, and started asking what now. You've turned every fall into a foundation, every cut into a mark of survival, every silence into a weapon. And now you walk with a rhythm they can't predict. You speak with a weight they can't imitate. You work with a consistency they can't match. And in their private thought, they fear the day you will outgrow every space they tried to trap you in. They will try to call you back into their game, to make you doubt what you've built, to distract you with offers that look like opportunities. But you will know, you will see the hook beneath the bait, and you will choose your path. Instead, you will keep your head where theirs spins. You will keep your hands steady where theirs shake. And you will keep moving. Not because it's easy, but because stopping is no longer an option. The fire is in you now, not as a blaze, but as a steady, relentless heat. The kind that turns metal into steel, and steel into something unbreakable. That is who you are, and that is why they are nervous. They will not speak it aloud. They will not give you the satisfaction of hearing your own power reflected in their words, but you will feel it in their hesitation, in the way they hesitate before challenging you, in the way they avoid meeting your eyes, in the way they speak softer when you are near. And you will know, deep down, without question, that you have crossed a threshold you never return from. You have become someone they cannot control, someone they cannot predict, someone they cannot stop. And that is everything. Nobody will tell you this, but there's a reason your silence unsettles them. A reason your calm in the storm pulls their masks tighter. A reason they watch you as if waiting for you to break. They know deep inside that you've crossed the line between surviving and becoming. Remember when you were still finding your feet, when you doubted yourself, when you looked for signs in their faces to see if you belonged. But those days are gone. You've stepped into a space they can't reach. A space built from the weight you've carried and the nights you've endured. They don't know what it cost you, and they wouldn't have paid it even if they did. You've learned to speak without noise, to walk without announcement, to build without broadcasting. And that is the kind of power that terrifies people who live for attention. You have stopped chasing applause and started chasing mastery. You've stopped asking for open doors and started learning how to walk through walls. They can't measure you anymore, because their tools don't work on someone who measures themselves by a standard deeper than status. You are not chasing the surface. You are chasing the core, the substance, the truth that doesn't bend under pressure. And because of that, they can't bargain with you. They can't tempt you with their shallow victories. They can't lure you into their endless competitions for meaningless crowns. Chosen the long game, the unseen work, the invisible grind that leaves no audience but demands every ounce of you. And now they are starting to realize they can't compete with someone who isn't playing their game. Your victories don't look like theirs. Your trophies aren't made of metal. Your rewards aren't things they can hold in their hands. Your reward is knowing you cannot be bought, cannot be swayed, cannot be broken by the things that break most. And they feel it in the way you carry yourself, in the way your eyes no longer ask, in the way your words cut through without shouting. You've learned to stand in your own shadow, to draw strength from solitude, to let the seasons pass without forcing the bloom. You've learned the patience of mountains, the stillness of deep water, the endurance of the road that never ends. And they don't understand it, because they were taught to run for everything. And you have learned to wait for what is truly yours. You've tasted the strength that comes from restraint, the clarity that comes from silence, the power that comes from doing the hard thing when no one is watching. You stared down your own reflection until it showed you the truth, and you didn't look away. You stood in the ruins of plans you thought were certain, and built something stronger from the dust. That kind of resilience, it's not in their vocabulary, because their power comes from position. Yours comes from purpose, theirs is borrowed. Yours is forged, and that's why you scare them. You remind them that the game they built can be walked away from, that there is a life outside their approval, that there is a version of strength they can't control. You stopped reacting to their noise. You stopped explaining your choices. You stopped proving your worth to people who will never see it. And that has made you untouchable. Not in the way of someone who hides, but in the way of someone who stands openly and refuses to. They can't reach you because you've lifted yourself to a place where their hands can't climb. Not through pride, but through work, through discipline, through the relentless decision to keep moving. When the road felt endless, you've taken every insult, every doubt, every closed door, and turned it into fuel. And now the engine in you doesn't stop, doesn't stall, doesn't run on their approval. It runs on something eternal, something they can't see, something they can't kill. That's why they lower their voices when you pass, why they share glances think you don't catch, why they try to read you and come up empty, because you've become unreadable, unpredictable, unshakable. You've built your own rules and live by them quietly, letting the results speak in a voice louder than any argument. You don't need to fight for your place, because you've made your place. You don't need to hold their gaze, because your eyes are set on something far beyond them. You don't need to answer their questions, because the answers belong only to you. And that is the kind of power they can't copy, because it's not given, it's not taught, it's lived, it's bled for, it's cried for, it's earned in the hours no one wants to endure. And you have endured them all. So now, when they see you, they see more than a person. They see a reminder that their control is not absolute. There are cracks in their walls, that someone can walk out of their system stronger than they walked in. You are that reminder, and they will never say it out loud, but they will always feel it. And in that, you have already won, not because they lost, but because you refuse to play small. You refuse to trade your soul for their comfort. You refuse to kneel for crumbs when you could build the table. And now, your presence alone is a storm they cannot weather. Nobody will tell you this, but there's a point you reach where you stop walking in their light and start carrying your own, where the opinions that once bent your spine now feel weightless, where the gates they built to keep you out stand open and meaningless. You've seen too much to be fooled again. You've felt the sting of betrayal, the grind of lonely nights, the ache of carrying yourself when no one offered a hand. And you've turned all of it into something they can't replicate. They thought the fire would consume you, but you learned to control it, to shit, to let it burn only what no longer belonged in your life. You became deliberate, precise, unshakable, and that is what terrifies them. Because most people break before they bend that far. Most people crumble when the weight gets heavy. But you became the weight, you became force. You became the reminder that endurance is not about surviving the storm. It's about becoming the storm's equal. You don't move to impress them anymore. You move because standing still would betray the person you've fought to become. You don't chase their approval because you learned that true value isn't given. It's revealed. And yours revealed itself in the silence when no one was clapping. They are nervous now because you've removed the leash without making a sound. You've walked past the boundaries without looking back. You've stopped speaking their language, and they have no translation for the way you live. You are no longer fueled by what they can give. You are fueled by what you've built with your own hands, your own mind, your own discipline. You've made peace with the fact that the path is long, that the nights can be cold, that the work will test you in ways nobody will see. And yet you move forward, step after step, choice after choice, without waiting for permission. And now they see it. They see the strength in the way you refuse to hurry, the courage in the way you refuse to quit, the danger in the way you can take their silence and turn it into momentum. They don't know what to do with someone who cannot be distracted, who cannot be seduced by shortcuts, who does not flinch when the climb steepens. They built their power on the weakness of others. But you have taught yourself not to be weak, not by pretending to be invincible, but by embracing the truth that pain is part of the process, that failure is not an ending, that rejection is redirection. You've learned to breathe in the fire until it feels like air. You've learned to stand in shadows until they feel like home. You've learned to turn loss into vision, and vision into steps, and steps into victories too. Real to take away. They can't calculate you anymore. You've become something their strategies don't account for, something their rules can't contain, something their titles can't diminish. And that makes them uneasy, because power that can't predict you fears you. They will never tell you that. They will never give you the satisfaction of knowing they watch your every move. But you'll see it in the way they slow down, pass, in the way their voices tighten when you speak, in the way they prepare for your presence. Without admitting why, you've made them feel it, that there are people who rise, not because they are allowed to, but because nothing can hold them down. You've proven that you can walk through every locked door without a key, that you can stand in every fire without burning, that you can turn every scar into a mark of mastery. And they don't know how to fight that, because you don't fight them. You outlast them. You let their noise fade, their urgency fade, control fade, while you keep building in silence. And when the dust settles, it will not be them standing. It will be you, not because they fell, but because you endured. And endurance, true endurance, is the one thing no powerful person can fake. They can pretend to be fearless. They can pretend to be untouchable. They can pretend to be in control, but they cannot pretend to have walked the miles you've walked, to have bled the way you've bled, to have carried the weight you've carried, without breaking. That is why you are dangerous. That is why you make them nervous. You've become the living proof that a person can build themselves from nothing and stand taller than those who had everything. You've become the story they'll never tell, but will always remember. The storm they'll never name, but will always feel. You have broken the law they rely on, that people stay in the place they are put. You refused, and in refusing, you've shown others they can refuse too. That is what they fear most. Not you, but the idea that you represent them, proof that their control is not absolute. So walk with the quiet fire of someone who has already won, with the steady breath of someone who knows there is more ahead, with the unshakable calm of someone who has faced the worst and learned they could survive it. Let them watch, let them whisper, let them wonder, because their fear is not your burden. It's your proof that you've become exactly what they prayed you never would. Unstoppable. And now, we're at the edge, fam. The storm's still raging, but your heart's still standing. still unshaken. You fought, you bled, you clawed through shadows, yet here you are, breathing, alive, unstoppable. They thought, oh yeah, they swore you'd crumble, but nah. You turned pain into fire, doubt into armor, fear into a freaking crown. The game isn't over, it's just loading the next level. So step out there louder, sharper, hungrier. Let 'em feel the quake when you move. Let 'em see the flash when you strike. You're not walking into the next chapter. Oh no, you're kicking the door clean off the hinges. And when they ask who you are, tell 'em, with a grin that burns, I'm the one the storm couldn't break.
Welcome back, my expectation-subverting innovator. Something absolutely extraordinary just occurred that has everyone experiencing profound anticipation reversal. When universal attention focused on you, waiting to see how you'd respond to critical situation, observers developed specific expectations about what your move would be based on conventional logic. Yet when you finally acted, your approach proved so fundamentally different from predicted responses that it created unprecedented cognitive disruption, forcing complete recalibration of understanding about what's possible. This wasn't you making slightly different choices than expected or executing anticipated strategies with superior skill. This was categorical surprise, where your actual move existed completely outside the possibility space that observers had mapped, making their expectations fundamentally inadequate for predicting what you'd do, creating recognition that you operate beyond conventional strategic frameworks that most people use to predict responses. The architects have been monitoring expectation dynamics and strategic innovation phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you created as anticipation subversion, categorical innovation. When someone responds to situations in ways that transcend conventional response categories, observers experience expectation failure because their predictive frameworks didn't account for possibility of your type of move making. Anticipation based on conventional logic prove inadequate, creating recognition that some strategic thinking transcends existing categories through operating in possibility spaces that conventional frameworks don't map. Most responses are predictable. People act within conventional categories, making their moves foreseeable to observers who understand standard strategic options, but your move apparently transcended categories, responding in ways that existing frameworks don't account for. Means your action existed outside mapped possibility space, making prediction impossible in principle because conventional logic doesn't include your type of response, creating recognition that some innovation transcends anticipation through operating beyond categorical boundaries that predictive thinking employs. Watch what's happening as observers process anticipation reversal. They experience prediction failure, their specific expectations about your move proving completely wrong creates recognition that their predictive frameworks were categorically inadequate for anticipating what you'd do. Some observers are experiencing possibility expansion, discovering that you acted in ways they didn't consider possible creates awareness that their mapped possibility space was incomplete, missing fundamental options. Others are experiencing framework inadequacy, recognizing that conventional strategic logic couldn't predict your move, makes them question whether their analytical frameworks are adequate for understanding your thinking. The truly remarkable element is the universality. Everyone simultaneously experiencing expectation failure proves your move transcended collective predictive capacity rather than just surprising individuals. Everyone waited for your move. They got unexpected results through demonstrating that anticipation subversion creates categorical innovation, where responding outside conventional frameworks generates universal surprise, proving strategic thinking can transcend predictive categories. Now the architects are analyzing what creates anticipation subversion, categorical innovation, and they're identifying what they call framework transcendence, possibility expansion. When someone operates with strategic frameworks that exceed conventional categories, they can conceive and execute responses that standard thinking doesn't include, making their moves unpredictable in principle because they access possibility spaces beyond what conventional frameworks map, creating innovation that transcends anticipation through employing expanded strategic thinking. Most people operate within conventional frameworks. They conceive responses using standard strategic categories, making their thinking bounded by established possibility spaces that everyone shares. But you apparently employ expanded frameworks, accessing strategic possibilities beyond conventional categories means your thinking operates in larger possibility space, making your moves include options that standard frameworks don't contain, creating unpredictability, where conventional logic cannot anticipate your responses because prediction requires shared frameworks that you transcend, proving that some strategic innovation derives from framework expansion that accesses possibilities beyond conventional thinking. Consider what framework transcendence requires cognitively. Your thinking must exceed conventional boundaries, accessing strategic possibilities beyond standard categories requires expanded frameworks that map larger possibility spaces than conventional thinking employs. Watch what possibility expansion creates in strategic outcomes. Unpredictable moves emerge. Your access to options beyond conventional categories enables responses that standard frameworks don't include, making your actions unpredictable to observers using conventional logic. Some studying innovation theory recognize that creativity transcends categories. Research shows that breakthrough thinking operates beyond existing frameworks, making your unexpected move potentially demonstrate creative cognition that conventional thinking lacks. Others exploring lateral thinking note that reframing enables novel solutions, understanding that shifting frameworks reveals new possibilities, makes your categorical innovation potentially reflect reframing ability that expands possibility space. A few from systems thinking recognize that higher order frameworks exist, understanding that meta-level thinking encompasses conventional categories makes your move potentially demonstrate operating at higher logical level. Some attempting to understand your thinking discover framework inadequacy, trying to comprehend your move using conventional categories proves impossible because your thinking operates beyond standard frameworks. Others questioning whether move was planned, wondering if your unexpected response reflects the deliberate innovation or spontaneous improvisation makes distinguishing strategic framework expansion from opportunistic adaptation important. A few recognizing that framework expansion is learnable, understanding that accessing larger possibility spaces can be developed makes your categorical innovation potentially teachable capability rather than innate gift. The architects observe that framework transcendence possibility expansion is what created categorical innovation, expanded thinking, accesses options beyond conventional categories. Most operate within standard frameworks. Your thinking transcends boundaries, and operating with strategic frameworks that exceed conventional categories enables conceiving and executing responses that standard thinking doesn't, to include making your moves unpredictable because you access possibility spaces beyond what conventional frameworks map, proving that deepest innovation derives from framework expansion where transcending categorical boundaries reveals strategic possibilities that conventional thinking cannot anticipate, creating unpredictability in principle. When operating beyond shared, predictive frameworks, something powerful is spreading among observers. Now, what the architects call expectation, humility, prediction, modesty. People discovering that their confident predictions about your move proved completely wrong are experiencing collapse of predictive certainty, where anticipation failure creates recognition that confident forecasting often exceeds justified levels, creating humility about prediction capabilities. When certainty proves unjustified, most people maintain predictive confidence. They forecast others' actions with certainty, believing their anticipations are reliable, making predictions seem straightforward. When using conventional logic, but your unexpected move forced prediction humility, observers' confident expectations. Proving completely wrong creates recognition that their predictive certainty exceeded justified levels, making them develop modesty about forecasting capabilities. When anticipation failures demonstrate that confident predictions often reflect overconfidence rather than genuine foresight, creating awareness that epistemic humility about prediction limits proves more appropriate than confident certainty about what others will do. Watch what prediction modesty creates in forecasting stance. Observers develop humble anticipation. Their expectation failure makes them less certain about future predictions, holding forecasts more tentatively, acknowledging that prediction has limits. Some studying forecasting accuracy recognize that overconfidence is common. Research shows that people systematically overestimate predictive ability, making your unexpected move potentially teach valuable lesson about prediction limits. Others exploring epistemic humility note that acknowledging uncertainty improves thinking, understanding that accepting prediction limits enables better responses, makes your anticipation subversion potentially force developing appropriate modesty. A few from forecasting theory recognize that radical uncertainty exists. Understanding that some futures are fundamentally unpredictable makes your categorical innovation potentially demonstrate irreducible unpredictability that confident prediction ignores. Some experiencing humility from failure appreciate learning. Their recognition that confident predictions proved wrong creates healthier epistemic stance, making anticipation failure valuable for developing appropriate modesty. Others resisting humility maintain confidence despite expectation failure. They preserve certainty about future predictions, refusing to accept that their forecasting overconfidence was demonstrated. A few questioning whether your move was truly unpredictable, wondering if better analysis could have anticipated your response, makes distinguishing predictive inadequacy from fundamental unpredictability important. Some celebrating modest forecasting feel validated, having maintained humble stance about predictions they find. Your unexpected move proves that prediction modesty represents wiser approach than overconfident certainty. The architects observe that expectation, humility, prediction, modesty reveals that your move taught forecasting limits. Confident anticipation proved unjustified. Most maintain predictive certainty. Your innovation forced humility, and discovering that confident predictions about your move proved completely wrong creates collapse of predictive certainty, where anticipation failure demonstrates that confident forecasting often exceeds justified levels, proving that epistemic humility about prediction capabilities proves more appropriate than overconfident certainty, making your categorical innovation teach that some responses transcend anticipation, requiring accepting prediction limits. When framework transcendence makes confident forecasting fundamentally inadequate, Now the architects are revealing what unexpected results actually demonstrate. Observers are experiencing what they call outcome superiority, conventional inadequacy, discovering that your unexpected approach produced superior results compared to what conventional responses would have achieved. Creates recognition that transcending standard frameworks doesn't just create surprise, but generates better outcomes, proving that categorical innovation serves functional purpose beyond mere unpredictability. Most people assume conventional approaches are optimal. They believe standard responses represent best available options, making deviation from conventional logic seem risky or suboptimal. But your unexpected results revealed conventional inadequacy, your innovative response, producing superior outcomes compared to what standard approaches would have achieved, proves that transcending conventional frameworks doesn't just surprise, but actually improves results, making recognition that categorical innovation serves functional advantage where framework expansion enables discovering superior solutions that conventional thinking misses, proving that some unpredictability reflects genuine strategic superiority rather than mere differentiation. Consider what outcome superiority reveals about innovation value. Unconventional approaches can be better. Your unexpected response, producing superior results, proves that transcending standard frameworks enables discovering solutions that conventional thinking cannot access. Watch what conventional inadequacy creates in strategic assessment. Standard approaches prove suboptimally. Your innovative response, outperforming what conventional logic would recommend, demonstrates that framework transcendence enables functional advantages. Some studying innovation outcomes recognize that breakthroughs outperform convention. Business and scientific history shows that transcending standard thinking produces superior results, making your unexpected approach potentially demonstrate innovation superiority. Others exploring optimization theory note that local maxima trap conventional thinking, understanding that standard approaches optimize within limited frameworks makes your categorical innovation potentially escape local optimization traps through accessing global maximum. A few from creative problem solving recognize that constraints limit conventional solutions, understanding that standard frameworks impose artificial boundaries makes your framework transcendence potentially remove constraints that limited conventional options. Some experiencing outcome envy recognize superiority, their conventional approaches producing inferior results compared to your innovative response creates awareness that framework transcendence enables genuine advantages. Others defending conventional wisdom resist inadequacy claims, arguing that your superior outcome reflects luck rather than framework superiority makes them maintain that standard. Approaches remain optimal. Generally, a few questioning whether unconventional approaches are reliably superior, wondering if your success proves categorical innovation consistently outperforms or represents isolated success makes assessing whether framework transcendence reliably improves outcomes important. The architects observe that outcome superiority, conventional inadequacy, reveals that your innovation produced better results. Unconventional approaches can outperform standard thinking. Most assume conventional optimality. Your results proved superiority, and discovering that your unexpected approach produced superior outcomes compared to what conventional responses would have achieved proves that transcending standard frameworks doesn't just create surprise, but generates genuine advantages, making recognition that categorical innovation serves functional purpose where framework expansion enables discovering superior solutions that conventional thinking misses, proving that your unpredictability reflects strategic superiority rather than mere differentiation, demonstrating that some innovation actually improves outcomes beyond what standard approaches achieve. The architects are now analyzing competitive dimension of unexpected results. You apparently created what they call unpredictability advantage, strategic asymmetry, where opponents, unable to anticipate your moves, cannot prepare effective countermeasures, creating perpetual reactive position where their responses always lag your innovations, making unpredictability itself competitive advantage that predictable actors lack. Most competitive dynamics assume mutual predictability. Opponents anticipate each other's moves, enabling preparation of countermeasures, making competition symmetric where both sides can predict and prepare. But your categorical innovation created asymmetric advantage. Opponents, unable to anticipate your unexpected responses, cannot prepare effective countermeasures, forcing them into perpetual reactive position where they respond to your innovations after they occur rather than preparing in advance, creating recognition that unpredictability itself constitutes competitive advantage, where transcending anticipation forces opponents into permanent disadvantage that predictable strategies cannot escape. Watch what strategic asymmetry creates in competitive dynamics. Opponents remain perpetually reactive. Your unpredictable moves, forcing them to respond after action, prevents them from preparing countermeasures, making their responses always lag your innovations. Some studying competitive strategy recognize that unpredictability provides advantages. Game theory and military analysis show that preventing anticipation creates superior positioning, making your categorical innovation potentially grant decisive competitive edge. Others exploring information asymmetry note that prediction failure creates disadvantage, understanding that opponents unable to anticipate moves cannot prepare effectively makes your framework transcendence potentially create permanent reactive disadvantage. A few from military doctrine recognize that initiative derives from unpredictability, understanding that forcing opponents to react maintains offensive advantage, makes your unexpected responses potentially establish perpetual initiative. Some experiencing competitive disadvantage recognize asymmetry. Their inability to anticipate your moves forces perpetual reactive position, creating awareness that unpredictability grants decisive advantages. Others attempting meta-prediction discover futility, trying to anticipate your unpredictability by predicting that you'll do unexpected things proves inadequate because framework transcendence operates beyond meta-level anticipation. A few questioning whether unpredictability is sustainable, wondering if maintaining categorical innovation indefinitely proves possible, makes assessing whether advantage persists important. Some celebrating unpredictability maintenance appreciate advantage, recognizing that their sustained categorical innovation maintains perpetual competitive asymmetry, validates understanding that framework transcendence creates lasting superiority. The architects observe that unpredictability advantage, strategic asymmetry reveals that your innovation creates perpetual competitive edge. Opponents cannot prepare for what they cannot anticipate. Most competition assumes mutual predictability. Your transcendence creates asymmetry, and discovering that opponents unable to anticipate your moves cannot prepare effective countermeasures, forces them into perpetual reactive position, proves that unpredictability itself constitutes competitive advantage, where transcending anticipation creates permanent initiative, making framework innovation not just tactical surprise but strategic asymmetry that forces opponents into disadvantageous reactive stance. They cannot escape through conventional preparation, making your categorical innovation source of sustained competitive superiority. Now something's emerging that the architects call response versatility, adaptive superiority. Observers analyzing your unexpected approach are discovering that framework. Transcendence reflects adaptive capacity, where accessing expanded possibility spaces enables selecting optimal responses for specific situations, rather than being constrained to conventional options, creating recognition that categorical innovation demonstrates superior adaptability. Most people employ limited response repertoires. They operate within conventional frameworks that offer restricted options, making their adaptive capacity bounded by standard categories. But your framework transcendence revealed adaptive superiority, accessing expanded possibility spaces enables selecting optimal responses tailored to specific situations, rather than being limited to conventional options, proving that categorical innovation reflects genuine adaptive capacity, where framework expansion increases versatility, creating recognition that transcending standard categories doesn't just surprise, but enhances adaptive effectiveness. Watch what adaptive superiority creates in response dynamics. Expanded options enable optimization. Your access to possibilities beyond conventional categories allows selecting responses specifically optimized for situations, rather than choosing from limited standard options. Some studying adaptability theory recognize that versatility requires expanded repertoires. Research shows that adaptive capacity depends on available options, making your framework transcendence potentially demonstrate how possibility expansion enhances adaptability. Others exploring contextual optimization note that situation-specific responses outperform generic approaches, understanding that tailoring responses to contexts improves outcomes, makes your categorical innovation potentially enable superior contextual fitting. A few from biological evolution recognize that variation enables adaptation, understanding that diverse responses enhance survival makes your expanded possibility space potentially reflect evolutionary principle, where versatility provides advantages. Some experiencing adaptation envy recognize versatility limits their restricted response options. Forcing suboptimal choices creates awareness that framework expansion would enhance adaptive capacity. Others attempting versatility development seek framework expansion, trying to access larger possibility spaces represents effort to enhance adaptive capacity through transcending conventional categories. A few questioning whether versatility creates inconsistency, wondering if varied responses indicate adaptability or lack of coherent strategy, makes distinguishing adaptive versatility from strategic inconsistency important. Some celebrating adaptive capacity appreciate versatility, recognizing that their framework expansion enables selecting optimal responses, validates understanding that categorical innovation enhances adaptability. The architects observe that response versatility, adaptive superiority reveals that your framework transcendence enables superior adaptation. Expanded possibilities allow optimal selection. Most employ limited repertoires. Your innovation demonstrates versatility, and discovering that accessing expanded possibility spaces enables selecting responses specifically optimized for situations, rather than being constrained to conventional options, proves that categorical innovation reflects genuine adaptive capacity, where framework expansion increases versatility, creating recognition that transcending standard categories enhances adaptive effectiveness through enabling contextual optimization that limited response repertoires cannot achieve, making your unexpected approach demonstrate superior adaptability enabled by possibility space expansion. Welcome back. My paradigm-disrupting catalyst. Something absolutely extraordinary just occurred that has everyone experiencing profound strategic obsolescence when you entered the environment that experts had mapped completely, with established playbooks governing every scenario. Nobody anticipated your emergence because existing frameworks didn't account for your type of presence. Yet now that you've arrived, every established strategy proves inadequate, forcing comprehensive playbook revision across entire domains. This wasn't you joining established game and playing by existing rules that competitors already understood. This was you arriving as completely unanticipated element that existing strategic frameworks didn't account for, making all established playbooks suddenly obsolete because they were designed for environments that didn't include you, forcing recognition that your arrival itself renders previous strategic thinking inadequate, requiring fundamental revision. The architects have been monitoring strategic disruption and framework obsolescence phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you created as unpredicted arrival playbook invalidation. When someone's emergence wasn't anticipated by existing frameworks, their presence invalidates established strategies because playbooks were designed for environments that didn't include them, making strategic revision necessary where previous approaches prove inadequate for new reality that unanticipated arrival creates. Most new entrants are anticipated. Strategic frameworks account for new competitors, making their arrival fit within established playbooks that already address how to respond to new players. But you apparently achieved complete surprise. Existing frameworks not accounting for your type means your arrival created unprecedented situation that established playbooks don't address, forcing comprehensive strategic revision because previous approaches were designed for environments fundamentally different from what your presence creates, making recognition that some arrivals transcend predictive frameworks through introducing elements that existing strategies didn't anticipate, requiring fundamental playbook reconstruction. Watch what's happening as observers process strategic obsolescence. They experience framework inadequacy, their established playbooks proving useless for environments, including you creates. Recognition that previous strategic thinking was incomplete. Having failed to anticipate your type, some observers are experiencing prediction failure recognition. Their frameworks, not foreseeing your emergence, creates awareness that their predictive models missed fundamental possibilities, making them question framework comprehensiveness. Others are experiencing playbook panic, discovering that established strategies don't address situations involving you, creates urgent need to develop new approaches because previous playbooks prove obsolete for current reality. The truly remarkable element is the comprehensiveness, not just some strategies but entire playbooks requiring revision proves your arrival fundamentally altered strategic landscape, making obsolescence systematic rather than partial. Nobody predicted your arrival. Now everyone's rewriting their playbook through demonstrating that unpredicted arrival creates playbook invalidation where unanticipated emergence renders established strategies obsolete, forcing comprehensive framework revision because previous approaches were designed for fundamentally different environments. Now the architects are analyzing what creates unpredicted arrival, playbook invalidation, and they're identifying what they call framework incompleteness, anticipatory failure. When strategic frameworks fail to account for fundamental possibilities, they create predictive blind spots where certain types of arrivals cannot be anticipated, making framework incompleteness itself cause of prediction failure, where missing fundamental categories prevents foreseeing entities that don't fit established classifications. Most prediction failures reflect insufficient analysis. People miss specific developments because they didn't analyze thoroughly enough, making better effort potentially improve predictions within existing frameworks. But your arrival apparently reflects framework incompleteness. Existing strategic thinking, not accounting for your type, means no amount of analysis within established frameworks could have predicted you, because frameworks themselves lacked categories for your type, making anticipatory failure inevitable consequence of incomplete frameworks that missed fundamental possibilities, creating recognition that some prediction failures reflect not insufficient analysis, but inadequate frameworks, where missing fundamental categories makes certain arrivals necessarily unpredictable. Consider what framework incompleteness requires structurally. Established strategies must lack fundamental categories, missing essential classificatory possibilities. Means frameworks cannot anticipate certain types, making your arrival necessarily unpredictable within existing thinking. Watch what anticipatory failure creates in framework assessment. Observers recognize incompleteness. Their failure to predict you creates awareness that established frameworks missed fundamental possibilities, making them question framework adequacy. Some studying strategic theory recognize that frameworks do have blind spots. Analysis of predictive systems shows that categorization schemes miss possibilities, making your unpredicted arrival potentially demonstrate inevitable framework limitations. Others exploring paradigm limits note that existing thinking constrains anticipation, understanding that frameworks determine what can be foreseen, makes your arrival potentially reflect fundamental framework incompleteness rather than analytical insufficiency. A few from innovation theory recognize that disruption transcends prediction. Understanding that truly novel developments exceed existing categories makes your unpredicted arrival potentially demonstrate how genuine innovation necessarily surprises. Some attempting retrospective prediction discover impossibility, trying to identify how existing frameworks could have foreseen you proves futile because frameworks fundamentally lacked categories for your type, making anticipation impossible in principle. Others questioning whether prediction was truly impossible, wondering if better frameworks could have anticipated you makes distinguishing inevitable framework limits from correctable incompleteness important. Few recognizing that completeness is impossible, understanding that frameworks necessarily miss possibilities makes accepting that some arrivals will always surprise philosophically necessary given impossibility of complete frameworks. The architects observe that framework incompleteness anticipatory failure is what created unpredicted arrival. Missing fundamental categories prevents anticipation. Most failures reflect insufficient analysis. Your arrival reflects incomplete frameworks and existing strategic thinking. Not accounting for your type means no amount of analysis within established frameworks could have predicted you, because frameworks themselves lacked categories, making anticipatory failure inevitable consequence of incomplete strategic thinking that missed fundamental possibilities, proving that some prediction failures reflect not analytical insufficiency, but inadequate frameworks where missing essential categories makes certain arrivals necessarily unpredictable, requiring framework expansion rather than just better analysis. Something powerful is spreading among observers now, what the architects call strategic humility certainty collapse. Experts, discovering that their comprehensive playbooks didn't account for your arrival, are experiencing collapse of strategic certainty, where confidence in framework completeness dissolves when unanticipated emergence proves established thinking was incomplete, creating recognition that strategic humility about framework limitations proves more appropriate than confident certainty about playbook comprehensiveness. Most strategists maintain framework confidence. They believe their playbooks comprehensively address possibilities, making them certain about strategic preparedness, assuming frameworks are complete enough. But your unpredicted arrival forced humility development, discovering that established playbooks completely missed your type, creates collapse of confident certainty, where comprehensive frameworks suddenly seem inadequate, making experts recognize that strategic humility about inevitable blind spots proves more appropriate than overconfident certainty about framework completeness, creating recognition that some arrivals necessarily transcend anticipation, making absolute strategic confidence unjustified when framework incompleteness is inevitable. Watch what certainty collapse creates in strategic stance. Experts develop humble preparedness. Their framework inadequacy for your arrival makes them less certain about playbook completeness, maintaining preparedness for unanticipated developments that established thinking misses. Some studying strategic humility recognize that acknowledging limits improves adaptability, understanding that accepting framework incompleteness enables better response to surprises, makes your arrival potentially teach valuable lesson about strategic modesty. Others exploring overconfidence dangers note that excessive certainty creates vulnerability. Research shows that believing frameworks are complete prevents adapting to unanticipated developments, making your unpredicted arrival potentially demonstrate costs of strategic overconfidence. A few from adaptive strategy recognize that flexibility requires humility, understanding that responding effectively to surprises requires accepting that frameworks have limits, makes your arrival potentially force developing appropriate strategic modesty. Some experiencing certainty collapse appreciate growth. Their recognition that playbooks were incomplete creates healthier strategic stance, making framework inadequacy valuable for developing appropriate humility about anticipatory limits. Others resisting humility maintain confidence. Despite your unpredicted arrival, they preserve certainty about revised frameworks, refusing to accept that new playbooks might also miss future developments. A few questioning whether humility enables complacency, wondering if accepting framework incompleteness creates excuse for inadequate preparation, makes them uncertain about when strategic humility becomes excessive. Some celebrating humble preparedness feel validated, having maintained strategic modesty about framework completeness. They find your arrival proves that acknowledging anticipatory limits represents wiser stance than overconfident certainty. The architects observe that strategic humility certainty collapse reveals that your arrival taught framework limitations. Confident certainty proves unjustified. Most maintain playbook confidence. Your emergence forced humility, and discovering that comprehensive playbooks completely missed your type creates collapse of strategic certainty, where confident frameworks suddenly seem inadequate, proving that strategic humility about inevitable blind spots proves more appropriate than overconfident certainty about playbook comprehensiveness, making your unpredicted arrival teach that some developments necessarily transcend anticipation, requiring accepting that framework incompleteness is inevitable, making absolute strategic confidence unjustified. Now the architects are revealing what Playbook revision actually demonstrates observers are experiencing what they call adaptation imperative, evolutionary pressure, your arrival, creating environment where established strategies fail forces strategic evolution, where those who adapt playbooks survive, while those maintaining obsolete approaches face elimination, creating evolutionary pressure that drives rapid strategic development. Most strategic evolution occurs gradually. Frameworks improve incrementally through continuous refinement, making development slow and steady without urgent pressure. But your arrival created evolutionary crisis. Established playbooks suddenly becoming obsolete creates urgent pressure to adapt quickly, where failure to revise strategies leads to elimination, making your presence function as selective pressure that forces rapid strategic evolution, separating those who adapt from those who don't, creating recognition that some arrivals serve as evolutionary catalysts, forcing accelerated development through creating environments where adaptation determines survival. Consider what evolutionary pressure reveals about strategic development. Crisis accelerates evolution. Urgent need to adapt drives faster development than gradual refinement, making your arrival catalyst for rapid strategic progress through creating selection pressure. Watch what adaptation imperative creates in strategic dynamics. Rapid revision occurs. Your presence forcing playbook obsolescence creates urgent adaptation, where frameworks evolve quickly to address new reality that established strategies didn't anticipate. Some studying evolutionary theory recognize that environmental change drives adaptation. Biological evolution shows that new conditions create selective pressure, making your arrival potentially function as strategic equivalent, where changed environment forces rapid development. Others exploring innovation drivers note that crisis accelerates progress. Understanding that urgent need drives faster development makes your playbook invalidation potentially serve as catalyst for accelerated strategic evolution. A few from disruption theory recognize that paradigm shifts require catalysts. Understanding that fundamental changes need precipitating events makes your arrival potentially necessary catalyst for strategic revolution that gradual evolution wouldn't achieve. Some experiencing adaptation pressure feel urgency. Their recognition that established playbooks are obsolete creates urgent need to develop new strategies, making your presence drive rapid framework revision. Others resisting adaptation maintain established approaches. Despite playbook obsolescence, they continue using previous strategies, refusing to accept that fundamental revision is necessary when established approaches feel familiar. A few questioning whether rapid revision is wise, wondering if rushed adaptation creates poorly developed playbooks, makes them uncertain about whether quick response or thorough development should take priority. Some celebrating evolutionary catalyst appreciate acceleration, recognizing that your arrival forces rapid strategic development, validates understanding that disruption serves valuable function, driving progress faster than gradual evolution. The architects observe that adaptation imperative evolutionary pressure reveals that your arrival drives rapid development. Obsolescence creates urgent adaptation need. Most evolution occurs gradually. Your presence forces acceleration, and discovering that established playbooks suddenly becoming obsolete creates urgent pressure to adapt quickly, where failure to revise leads to elimination, proves that your arrival functions as selective pressure, forcing rapid strategic evolution through creating environment where adaptation determines survival, making you serve as evolutionary catalyst, driving accelerated framework development that gradual refinement wouldn't achieve. proving that disruptive arrivals force strategic progress through creating adaptation imperatives. The architects are now analyzing competitive dimension of playbook revision. You apparently created what they call first adapter advantage competitive differentiation, where those who revise strategies quickly gain advantages over slower adapters, creating competitive differentiation, where adaptation speed itself becomes strategic variable that determines relative positioning. Most competitive advantages involve execution quality. People win through performing better at established strategies, making success depend on superior implementation within shared frameworks. But your arrival created adaptation competition, playbook obsolescence, means competitive advantage shifts to who adapts fastest, making revision speed itself strategic variable where first adapters gain positioning advantages over slower revisers, creating recognition that when environments change, fundamentally, adaptation speed matters more than execution quality of obsolete strategies, proving that disruptive arrivals shift competitive basis from execution to adaptation. Watch what first adapter advantage creates in competitive dynamics. Quick revisers gain positioning. Their faster adaptation to your presence creates advantages over slower adapters, making revision speed itself source of competitive differentiation. Some studying competitive strategy recognize that adaptation speed provides advantages. Business theory shows that responding quickly to changes creates positioning benefits, making your playbook invalidation potentially create competition where adaptation speed determines success. Others exploring first mover benefits note that early action creates advantages, understanding that acting before competitors provides benefits makes quick playbook revision potentially grants significant competitive edge. A few from change management recognize that transition periods create opportunities. Understanding that environmental shifts enable repositioning makes your arrival potentially create window where fast adapters gain advantages that later revisers miss. Some experiencing competitive pressure feel urgency. Their recognition that slower adaptation means falling behind creates pressure to revise quickly, making adaptation speed itself competitive imperative. Others experiencing adaptation paralysis struggle with revision. Their difficulty developing new playbooks quickly enough creates disadvantage as faster adapters gain positioning, making slow revision costly in competitive terms. A few questioning whether speed sacrifices quality, wondering if rushing playbook revision creates inferior strategies, makes them uncertain about whether quick adaptation or thorough development provides greater advantage. Some celebrating first adapter positioning appreciate advantage. Their quick revision of playbooks creates competitive differentiation, validating understanding that adaptation speed provides strategic benefits when environments change. Fundamentally, the architects observe that first adapter advantage competitive differentiation reveals that your arrival created adaptation competition revision speed becomes strategic variable. Most competition involves the execution quality. Your presence shifts to adaptation speed, and discovering that playbook obsolescence means competitive advantage shifts to who adapts fastest, proves that when environments change, fundamentally, adaptation speed matters more than execution quality of obsolete strategies, creating recognition that disruptive arrivals shift competitive basis where first adapters gain positioning advantages, making revision speed itself source of competitive differentiation, proving that your arrival changed not just what strategies work, but what strategic capabilities matter most. Shifting competition from execution to adaptation. Now something's emerging that the architects call playbook dependency, strategic fragility. Observers, recognizing that their comprehensive frameworks became instantly obsolete upon your arrival, are discovering that excessive playbook reliance creates vulnerability, where depending too heavily on established strategies makes organizations fragile to unanticipated disruptions, creating recognition that strategic flexibility proves more robust than comprehensive planning. Most strategic thinking values comprehensive playbooks. People believe thorough planning for all scenarios creates robustness, making framework comprehensiveness seem like strategic strength, but your arrival revealed playbook fragility. Organizations relying heavily on established strategies proved most vulnerable to disruption because playbook dependency created rigidity that prevented adapting to unanticipated developments, making recognition that excessive framework reliance actually creates vulnerability, where comprehensive planning produces fragility. When environments change in ways playbooks don't anticipate, creating recognition that strategic flexibility often proves more robust than comprehensive frameworks that become liabilities when obsolete. Watch what strategic fragility creates in organizational resilience. Playbook-dependent organizations struggle. Their heavy reliance on established frameworks makes them vulnerable to your arrival, while flexible organizations adapt more easily, making framework dependency itself source of fragility. Some studying organizational resilience recognize that flexibility provides robustness. Research shows that adaptive capacity matters more than comprehensive planning for surviving disruptions, making your arrival potentially demonstrate that playbook dependency creates vulnerability. Others exploring anti-fragility note that rigid systems break under stress, understanding that organizations optimized for specific environments fail when conditions change makes your disruption potentially reveal costs of excessive playbook reliance. A few from complexity theory recognize that over-optimization creates fragility. System science shows that fitting too perfectly to specific conditions creates vulnerability to changes, making playbook dependency potentially example of optimization creating fragility. Some experiencing playbook fragility recognize dependency costs. Their organizations struggle adapting to your arrival because of framework reliance creates awareness that comprehensive planning can create vulnerability, making them question playbook dependency. Others defending comprehensive planning resist fragility claims, arguing that proper frameworks include flexibility makes them maintain that good playbooks don't create rigidity when properly designed. A few attempting balance discover difficulty trying to maintain both comprehensive frameworks and adaptive flexibility proves challenging, making optimal balance between planning and adaptability difficult to achieve. Some celebrating flexible approaches feel validated. Their organizations adapting more easily to your arrival because of flexible rather than playbook-dependent approaches validates understanding that adaptability provides greater robustness. The architects observe that playbook dependency, strategic fragility, reveals that your arrival exposed framework reliance costs. Comprehensive planning creates vulnerability. Most value thorough playbooks. Your disruption revealed fragility, and discovering that organizations relying heavily on established strategies proved most vulnerable proves that excessive framework reliance creates rigidity, preventing adaptation to unanticipated developments, making recognition that strategic flexibility often proves more robust than comprehensive planning. that becomes liability when obsolete, proving that your arrival taught that playbook dependency itself constitutes vulnerability, where framework reliance creates fragility to disruptions, making adaptability more valuable than comprehensive planning.